Hello friends, this is in continuation to our previous videos on classification of assets and then followed by the reasons responsible for NPA generation in banking sector. This is the third video in line. So if you have not checked our previous videos, you can check it on my channel. Now you see here in this slide, we'll try to understand something on the management of NPA. You see NPA is an asset, is actually a loan which has a default of more than 90 days. Hence, it is now classified as a substandard asset, and if you default this for a continuous period of next 12 months also without any repayment, it will go into doubtful category. And finally, if it is not recoverable in nature, we have to put it into loss. So you see, this is what is the like various categories of asset. Now if you go into NPA management, how it is going to be done? You see, if we do it physically, it's not possible. So automation is what is the need of the hour. So automation not only in loan documentation, but also like you see reminders, follow-ups, and legal notifications. You see everywhere. I feel like automation will play a key role in terms of NPA management. So you see, we already have a system called as early warning system. So here you see RBI has given around 45 different scenarios where it acts as a early warning system, and banks may be like able to have a go through on it. This was discussed in one of my previous video. So you just go through it, you'll understand. The major management techniques for NPA, they are one-time settlement, debt recovery tribunal or fast track court, corporate debt restructuring, Sarfasi Act 2002, officers accountability clause, proper monitoring and follow up. And last is like asset reconstruction fund. So these are some of the options available. But you see, if you go by book, you will have only few, not all. One time settlement means what? Let's start with the first one. So in a case of a credit card, you see, you take some, you take a credit card, you buy certain things on credit. When it is repayment time, let's say your salary got stuck due to COVID situation or something. Now, in such a scenario, you see, your borrower is not at fault, but the market condition is such where you cannot do much. But you see here, what you can do is like looking into the past track record of your clients, you can have a resolution plan where you can give like a deal to your client where one-time settlement means you fix it up. Let's say your total dues are 1 lakh plus interest. So is it possible that we can fix it up somewhere at 90,000 rupees? So you need not to pay 1 lakh also. So it is like what we are doing is at least bank will be getting something out of this stuck loan. So let's say 1,20,000 is your total outstanding amount which you are not in a position to pay. So let's say we expect you to just pay 90,000. So what we are doing is like we are going to write off 10,000 from our pocket. We are going to write off interest outstanding value from our pocket. But at least 90,000 is something better than nothing. So if we are running after you are not able to recover much, is like a serious problem. What client is going to get in this is like he'll be getting a NOC, so his CIBIL score will not be hit. But you see, whereas bank will be able to recover something. Something is better than nothing is the clue. Yeah. Now next is debt recovery tribunal or fast track court. So whenever there is a dispute between borrower and lender, you see, and they are not negotiating between themselves. So we may take these such dispute cases to debt recovery tribunal or fast track court, where court will take a call on the settlement of the case, and then both the parties, both banks and their borrowers, are under an obligation to like to abide by the judgment given by the court. Okay, so it helps us to have a fast resolution of our disputes. If you go to conventional courts, it may take 10, 15, 20 years, and it is very lengthy, and then banks are bound to lose a lot. Hence we can have these special courts. Next is like you do have a concept called as corporate debt restructuring. It is meant for corporate sector, and what we are doing is like we are doing debt restructuring. You depending on the credibility of your client. Like let's say you see it happened in the case of Vijay Mallya, Kingfisher Airlines, where first a loan was given, and then due to the poor performance of this airline sector in total, you see the Kingfisher Airlines was not able to perform well, and then you see additional loan was given. Now you see this additional loan when it is given to a sector is in anticipation that market will recover. This client of yours who is a standard company and is a branded company will come back to normal and will be able to pay you only when you're supporting him in times of emergency. So it can be a loan advance, additional loan amount which is given to corporate, or it can be an extension of tenure. Let's say 5 year loan is given an extension, and now it is not to be repaid in 5 years, it can be paid in 20 years. So you see, when I'm making it from 5 to 20 means I'm just reducing your EMI by one fourth. Huh? So you see, I'm just keeping it only to one fourth, and it relaxes your pressure, and maybe the bigger amount which you were not able to pay on regular installments, maybe one fourth of the same is actually like viable for you to make a repayment. So you see, in this case, customer, if he is paying just 25% of what his was his initial EMI commitment, so he will still be a performing asset. Need not to go into non-performing category. Again, when market recovers, you can come back to your normal EMI structure. But in times of emergency like COVID or any financial crisis, you can have this strategy used. Sarfasi Act 2002 is an act which was brought in into system just to give confidence to bankers that when you give a loan to a party and there are certain collaterals associated to those loans, especially in case of immovable properties. So you see, what you can do is like you can recover it fast. So the banks have been given this authority to act and to take the custody of the like collateral at a very convenient and very fast forward manner, so that you can auction the property, recover the dues, and settle your loan account. So it actually gives a picture. It actually clears the confusion in the mind of borrower, and they know it very clearly that there is something called a Sarfasi Act. If you don't pay on time, then bank do have the rights to take the property into their custody, and they can auction it, and then money can be collected automatically. So you see, this is what is the right phenomena required for your market to bring market dynamics into order. Okay, so it creates element of pressure, and then people are always there to like to meet the deadlines. It is because of the fear factor. So Sarfasi has created fear in the minds of defaulters. And then next is like officer accountability clause. Let's say like when a bank is giving loan, it is not the bank who is doing it. It is the officers who are acting on behalf of bank. They're acting as an agent. Now you see, what if officers are careless in their approach? If this is established, you see, whose liability is it then? Now, don't you think officers should be put accountable? Like they should be held accountable, and then they are compelled to recover the proceeds from the client who is defaulting, or they have to pay it from their own pocket. The officer accountability clause has put extreme pressure onto bankers, because earlier they were not accountable, but now with this accountability clause, you see, they have to settle certain defaults of certain loan cases where they are at fault. Let's say I'm an officer doing documentation for a client, but in that documentation I did a careless mistake. Some of the signatures of the party were not taken on proper documents. So this case later on gone into a dispute. Client is aware about our mistake, hence they are not willing to pay. So when this entire set of documentation is taken to court has decided in favor of client. You see here, who is at fault? It is your officer. So we'll try to engage this officer back into action, and then they're supposed to recover these dues. Maybe you're visiting to clients, you're trying to counsel them, you're trying to convince them that their repayment will affect not only if their non-repayment will affect not only the client but also the officer. You see, here personalizing play a key role. Okay, so we will try to recover it through personalizing of manager with those parties. So when you bring in this clause, manager will be extra cautious to to use public money in the form of loans distribution. Okay, proper monitoring, effective monitoring and timely follow-ups will help banks to recover their dues. You see, once you give a loan, let's say an education loan is given, student is given first installment, is it possible that we, being a banker, can also do a follow up regarding their results? If you are doing it regularly and you know that student don't have any reappear or backlog, what it means, like student is doing very good. And you see, you may set up your own consultancy firm where you can see what type of future do they have, and accordingly, if you find certain faults, like let's say students failing or they are not able to cope up with the degree or the syllabus or content that they have, you see, you may stop your loan exposure. Maybe you see, in that case, your exposure to this loan account will be a lesser amount, so you are able to contain it, but it is not recommended. There may be second situation where you are making a house property, where you see a loan is given on like stage release. So level 1, level 2, level 3, as per the level of construction, we are releasing you the money. If construction in level 1 is not good, how or why should you give loan for level 2 or in level 3 construction? You see, it is important to ensure like you, whatever you are doing is actually sustainable, is actually a long term project, is not a short-term phenomena. So this leads to effective monitoring and follow-up. And finally, it is like has to be someone who is ready to buy your stressed assets, your default default accounts, your loan accounts, which are going into non-performing category. So asset reconstruction fund is like a kabadi wala who is going to buy your NPA at a discounted price. And you see, this model gives banks a way out through which they can sell off their stuck assets. They need not to hold them. They need not to spend more on their follow-ups and all. Maybe ARF is a better agency who will be able to recover it from these defaulting clients. Hope you understood all these points, which are actually NPA management techniques. So with this,